Hey guys, Hailey Lain, aka Key Black here with another episode of Off the Cuff. Once again, I have Jessica Sheffield here with me.
Hey!
And we are going to be picking up again on the questions and answers from Behind the Curtain and past Off the Cuff episodes about Behind the Curtain. So I think the last thing we were talking about was Henry's character, and then we kind of mentioned the topic of AUs. We actually do have a question about that. NixTwit7021 says that this actually sounds like a really good story plot. I've never been able to play the games, but when I do, I'm a catch up as much as possible. Just curious though, are we allowed to make AUs or character inserts of said AU? Short answer, yes please. If you're inspired by this, please go off and do it on your own as well, because that's basically what we did.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, like, you best start believing in AUs, NixTwit. You're in one! Like, this whole thing is literally an AU, because, let's be real, if you take these characters and you take this story and you forget everything that you already know about Bendy and the Ink Machine, they're not the same characters.
No.
Now we're projecting and we're saying, oh yeah, this is totally what happens in Bendy, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not. And that's why we keep also getting plenty of questions like this didn't happen. What about this? When will this happen? When will that happen? It's like, no. This is not the same stuff, guys. I think between you and I, Hailey, we both mentioned our absolute favorite part of the game was what, Chapter 1?
It was Chapter 1. Yeah, actually, somebody asked about this. It was Igor Dusk 414 asks, you said you quit Batten after the 5th chapter. What was your most favorite part in Batten's plot? And it was the premise. It was literally like, I started playing Bendy and the Ink Machine when there was only like a beta or an alpha version of Chapter 1 out. And I was just, I'm an animator. I don't really think too deeply about the story plot and everything like that. I was just captivated by, this is a really cool premise. This is what happens in an animation studio when things go really, really bad. And I've seen that actually happen in real life as well. So it was like, oh.
You're very, very knowledgeable about that.
Yes, and so are you. But yeah, so, I mean, you said that was...
I know it.
You said that was basically like, you were attracted to the concept for something similar, right?
Yeah, I think it was hilarious that both of us, our favorite parts of the actual game are Chapter 1, because we were able to project and hope for all the things that we really wanted to see, which is, I mean, for me, I wanted to see a drama based off of the absolute pardon my language, shit show that was Max Fleischer Studios back in, from 1910 to 1930, because that is a fascinating period in animation history, which I am a big fan of. Mm-hmm. And I saw this Bendy and the Ink Machine stuff on my feed. I'd never played the game, and I wasn't really that interested because I didn't see any possibility for that coming out. Now, it wasn't until I saw some of Hailey's artwork for it where I was like, there you go. The animator drama. There it is, like the Max Fleischer Studios drama. And so what I had in my head and what I really was hoping to see in the game was ultimately a story about two creatives who started, a company together, eventually drifted apart, and through the usual problems that come out when you have actual creatives working together. It's the Jungian shadow, it's passive aggressiveness, it's sniping, it's just all this, bad stuff that can start coming up. And
like the note.
When all that was still a possibility, I was very excited. But then as Chapter 3 rolled around, and then 4, and then 5, and I realized Kindly Beast and the Meatly were not anywhere near going where I was hoping they were going, we just kind of went, okay, well, we can write our own story.
Yep, and we did. Yeah, actually, somebody asked about that. Legendary 007 asked, when you mentioned that the fall of Joey Drew Studios mirrored what happened with the Fleischer Studio, do you mean what happened between Max Fleischer and his brother?
Oh, 007, a man of class and culture. Yes, there's so much to talk about with Max Fleischer Studios and also his kind of unspoken rivalry with Disney. And again, I'm not going to go too much into this. I wrote a whole article about this on my newsletter.
Yes.
But short story is, Yeah, the atmosphere at Max Fleischer Studios was nightmarish, and here's the big thing about what was happening there. So you've got Max Fleischer Studios that starts off doing these really wholesome, very cute cartoons. I think one of the first ones I remember is these two orphans that are collecting firewood, and they go home, and their clearly widowed mother is working really hard to try to give them, something, for dinner, and it's bread and boiled water, and then they go to bed, and all, it's just sad, and then they dream about all this wonderful stuff, and then they wake up, and it wasn't just a dream because some kindly shopkeepers that they walked by earlier in the day came and really made an incredible dinner and event for them to remember. Now, contrast that with the stuff Max Fleischer Studios was doing later, like, let's say, Betty Boop in Hell, and Cab Calloway singing as a ghost, and it gets really dark, and it gets really cynical and kind of nasty. Well, it makes perfect sense when you realize that Max Fleischer's brother, who was working at the studio, was openly having an affair with his secretary. So you've got to remember, this is back in like the turn of the last century. If that's happening in your place of work and you're trying to write wholesome stories and do wholesome animation, there's no way. You're just cynical. You're like, God, how can we be espousing cute and wholesome and fun things while literally the brother, the guy who owns the place, is screwing his secretary, and all of us know it.
Yeah.
It just can't be done.
Yeah, like just speaking as an animator, like having worked in some pretty varied environments within studios and stuff, like I didn't know any of this history that went into it. I was just into like, oh, I like the premise of the game, but if I was in that kind of situation, I wouldn't even be respecting the kind of people in charge.
Yeah, it seeps into everything. It's why it's very important to not lie. And let's say, we don't know exactly what the conversations were going on in that studio, but we do know that if the first cartoon that I remember from that studio was this very wholesome thing about helping people in need and appreciating what you have even when there's nothing there, it's a very humbling and nice story. How can you write stuff like that when you've got a guy cheating on his wife at the very top of your own company and no one is saying anything and no one is bringing it up?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a lie right there. And if you live a lie, well, you can't. It affects you in everything you do. And that's why it's also hilarious, because you look at the Max Fleischer Studios and what they were producing, and towards the end of the studio's, really productive phase, suddenly out of nowhere, you get these fantastic Superman cartoons. So I just feel like Max Fleischer went, that's it! And just...
We're going wholesome! Screw all that stuff.
We're going full into the paint with like this really cool superhero that I've been reading the comics about, and I'm just gonna ignore what's happening around me, and I'm gonna draw these really cool cartoons. And they were really cool cartoons. I love the Max Fleischer Superman stuff.
Animation is absolutely spectacular. With the drama and everything too, we had a question from Cynthia Edith 4122, who asks, I wonder if so she says, I'm not sure if I'm the first to say this, but I noticed during the flashback, the legible part of the note mentions a complete redesign. I wonder if this is what caused the fallout between Henry and Joey. And, I mean, yes, but you're better equipped to answer this question, I think, as the writer in the situation, because, like, yes, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, it was more like that was the straw that broke the camel's back, because what we had imagined, right, is you've got these two very talented, competent men here. They start a studio. They can probably both draw, like they're probably both animators, but one's a little better at the drawing and animation, and the other is a little better at the business side of the house, like keeping the lights on, keeping the rent paid. And so naturally, they're going to be drifting further into their respective roles, and as all people do, they're going to get a little resentful in different ways, because we all get a little resentful. Everyone's always got that, thing in the back of their head, like, man, I'm doing all the work around here, no one appreciates it, or, I had that idea and this other person took it, and what's up with that? So I just imagined our director, Max, he sees this more as, why is everyone giving credit to Henry here? I found the studio too, and I can draw too, but everyone acts like he's the only one who has the talent to keep this place going just because he made that little demon cartoon. And then vice versa, I'm sure Henry is getting more and more annoyed because he never sees Max around.
Yep.
Like, that guy sits in his office all day and does jack shit. Meanwhile, I'm out here busting my butt to actually get some money in the bank account so that he can continue, whatever the heck he's doing behind closed doors there. So you've got that building resentment, and then the perfect spark would be Max going, that thing you did that has got us really popular and is making us a lot of money isn't actually that good. And then vice versa, you've got Henry's little spark going, you don't do shit here, I'm the only one pulling my weight. Well, you get those two Jungian shadows in a head-to-head argument, and that's when the punches are about to start flying. But the thing is, Henry backs down.
Yeah.
He loses his temper, and instead of actually, letting this boil over, which for a guy, you need to let it boil over. Guys just need to hit each other. Well, let's be real here. The punches just need to happen.
That was some of my favorite stuff to do for the teaser in Behind the Curtain. Is like, yes, finally.
Because here's the thing, like, guys work out their problems a lot different than girls do. For dudes, it's about action. It's physicality. For women, it's about understanding, like, appreciating someone else's feelings. Like, it's the empath versus, I don't know what you call the guy other than the punch things, like the fist wizard.
Fist wizard.
I cast mage hand, picks up thing. But yeah, so that yes, you're right. That was the thing that kind of sparked the fight, but there was a lot of other stuff leading up to it. It's like you overload it so much. Both of these guys are probably high stress, and then you tip the glass over just a little too far, and then it goes off the edge. And
then we have a mess. And then everything's covered in ink, and then the studio, goes to hell.
My favorite thing about the Behind the Curtain, by the way, is we could get away with so much because of the plausible deniability of its ink.
It's
just
ink.
ink. Henry's just covered in ink, guys. The projectionist is just oozing ink out of his neck hole.
They're just wading through this huge vat of ink. That guy is just sinking into a puddle of ink. It's fine. It's not blood.
It's a disembodied heart in ink.
Well, on that note, guys, I think we are going to cut off this episode here. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. Jess, thank you again for joining.
Oh, man, always a pleasure to be on here. Thank you so much for the invite. I love nerding about this stuff.
And we are not done again. So, guys, we're going to have a third episode answering and addressing some of the questions and comments that we've gotten on Behind the Curtain and past off-the-cuff episodes. And we'll see you next time. Thanks again.
Bye.